Hi, Jeff.
Hey, Tamoya, how you doing?
Great, great. How about yourself?
Good.
Let's talk about Ohtani's pitching last night. What did you think of his outing last night?
He was very good, which, was nice to see because, after he had the bad game in Houston and then he came up a little sore, there was some question of whether he was fatigued or just should end his season or, injured or something like that. And then he came back and he pitched well twice in a row, really, against good teams. So I think that eased everybody's concerns that there's anything wrong with him. And I think he's probably going to pitch one more time next weekend in Seattle because he probably wants to. I think Ohtani wants to get his 10th win, although, as I've mentioned to you, I don't think it matters, but he probably wants it. I think he just wants to pitch because that's what he does. That's why he came over here to play baseball. And it's going to be his last chance to pitch no matter what for the season. So I feel like he is going to want to do it next weekend in Seattle.
He had pretty efficient outing last night as well. What do you think about his progression throughout the season?
Last night was actually not quite as efficient as he had been. He still threw 112 pitches in 7 innings, and I think that was more because of a lot of foul balls hit by the Mariners as opposed to him walking people. He didn't walk anybody, which has been the most remarkable thing throughout his whole season. I think it was the 7th game he's pitched this year with 0 walks, which is really incredible because he was walking a lot of people at the beginning of the year. And I just think his progression has been very impressive from April to now, and he's just gotten better the whole time.
Speaking of walks, as a hitter, Ohtani's been walked quite a bit lately. Why has he been drawing so many walks lately? Is it a good thing?
Well, I think it actually is a good thing. I think that pitchers were not throwing him strikes really as far back as, July or August. And I think what happened to him in August was he was swinging at a lot of the pitches that were out of the strike zone and he was getting himself out. And I think lately he's stopped doing that, which means he's going to walk more, but he's also going to be better when he does swing the bat. I actually looked up some numbers from August 20th to September 15th. He had a 153 batting average and a 618 OPS, which are both pretty bad. Since then, since September 16th, he's got a 313 batting average and a 1,073 OPS. Now that really coincides with the time when he's walking so much. So he's basically, when teams are not throwing him strikes, he's taking them. So he's getting walked. And when they are throwing him strikes, he's hitting them hard. So he's still getting hits.
Some people in Japan bring this up, but are there any reasons to suspect there's racism against Asians or non-Americans involved?
No. These teams are trying to win that the Angels are playing. Pretty much everybody they played in September is in the pennant race. So the games are very important to them. And all they're doing is trying to win. And right now, Ohtani is by far the best hitter in the Angels lineup. And there's no reason to have him beat you when the players hitting behind him are like Phil Gosselin, who's done a nice job for the Angels, but he's certainly not anywhere near as good as Ohtani. And it would just be silly for a team to really go after Ohtani when the game is on the line when Phil Gosselin is batting behind him. It will be interesting to see this series against the Rangers coming up this week, because the Rangers are also out of it. So the wins and losses don't mean very much to them either. So maybe they will throw Ohtani some more strikes than these other teams that were fighting for the playoffs.
So this series against the Rangers will be kind of the key for Ohtani if he wants to win the home run race.
I wouldn't go that far. It's just 3 games. And that ballpark in Texas is not a great ballpark for home runs anyway. So I think that it's certainly going to be a little more of an opportunity. I think he has a better chance of getting more strikes in those games than he has been getting lately. So we'll see what happens.
Let's talk about what Ohtani said after the game last night. What do you make of the following comment by Ohtani? He was asked if he wants to stay with the Angels, and he said,
そうですね。もちろんファンの人も好きですし、球団自体の雰囲気も好きではあるので、ただそれ以上に勝ちたいという気持ちの方が強いですし、プレイヤーとしてはそれの方が正しいんじゃないかなと思っています。
Yeah, definitely. I really like the team. I love the fans. I love the atmosphere of the team. But more than that, I want to win. That's the biggest thing for me. So I'll leave it at that.
I think that's just what any player would say. No players are going to say that winning is not important to him because that would look silly. Obviously, they all want to win, but obviously they also want to be comfortable too, and they want to be paid well, and they want to, like the people they're working with. So I think all those things matter. And certainly, the Angels are going to pay Ohtani lots of money, I'm sure. And so that's not going to be a reason for him to leave. And I think the Angels although they haven't won lately, they certainly have the capability of winning on any given year. They have lots of money to spend on other players that just hasn't worked. They haven't spent it on the right players. But this is not a team like, the Pirates, where you look at them and you go, oh, they're going to lose for the next 4 years, or the Orioles or something like that. So there's no reason to believe that the Angels can't win. And the other thing to keep in mind is Ohtani doesn't even have a choice for 2 more years. So lots of things can change in 2 years. The Angels could be much better 2 years from now than they are right now, before Ohtani would really have the option to go anywhere. So I think that it's just the normal comment that you would expect from any player. And I wouldn't be very worried about it if I was an Angels fan, that Ohtani's gonna get up and leave or demand a trade or anything like that.
That's very reassuring for fans, I believe. Do you think the Angels management was surprised by the comment, though?
No, I mean, they shouldn't be. I mean, every player should want to win. I don't know what else they're supposed to say. You want all your players to want to win, and that's how you win. So the problem is that they haven't had enough good players, and that's not really on the players, that's on the management. So I'm sure they're fully aware that they need to get some more good players in order to have everybody win.
So you don't think other teams who are looking to acquire Ohtani were surprised or encouraged by it?
No. I mean, like I said, it's the obvious thing he's supposed to say. He wants to win. That's what 100% of players would say if asked the same question.
Do you think the Angels will be able to build a strong enough team to keep Ohtani by the end of 2023?
Well, they certainly can try. If they're going to keep Ohtani, it's going to be before the end of 2023. I think if he's not been re-signed by that point, that it probably means that he doesn't want to stay, because I'm sure the Angels will offer him an extension to stay before then. I mean, it could be this winter, or it could be the winter between 22 and 23. So I just think the Angels need to show him that they're going to put the resources in to win, just like they did for Mike Trout. Mike Trout was convinced that they were going to do it. And although it hasn't worked, it's still, like I said, they're a team that has a lot of money, and they certainly have the capability of being a good team. And I think that's probably what the players would want to see.
So if the Angels cannot sign contract extension with Ohtani by the time they get into 2023 season, that's a bad sign for them?
Probably. If the 23 season starts and he does not have a new contract, I would think that would be a bad sign, because by then the Angels certainly would have talked to him. And so the fact that they started talking and didn't reach a deal tells you that there's some kind of disconnect there. So I don't think that he would get to free agency at the end of 23 and then re-sign with the Angels. I think that's probably not likely. I think that if he gets to free agency, it means he already decided he does not want to sign with the Angels. But there's a long way to go before we get there. And I expect that he's probably going to sign an extension with the Angels in the next 6 months. That would be my guess.
When Ohtani was asked, have you talked to the Angels about contract extension? He said he hasn't yet. Do you believe that?
Oh, yeah. I mean, this is not really the time of year to do that kind of thing. There's plenty of time in the winter to do it. I think that like the normal time for this to happen would be probably between February and April, because then teams are all done with their other business in the off season and they worry about the guys that they already have. I mean, when Mike Trout signed his extension, it was right before the season. It was in March, and it was March of 2 years before he was going to be a free agent. So for Ohtani, that would be March of 2022. So I think that I would expect there to be some talks this winter, and I would expect them to really get going, from January to March.
What needs to happen to the Angels this offseason? What kind of transactions for them to become a contender next year?
Well, they need to get some better starting pitching, mainly. There are some good starting pitchers available. The problem is that a lot of the ones that you think would be the best are also pretty old. We're talking about Max Scherzer, Justin Verlander is coming off surgery, Clayton Kershaw, Zach Greinke. These guys are all kind of at the end of their careers. And so although they're big names that everybody's familiar with, you're not necessarily going to get the vintage version of that player. And then there's other guys like Marcus Stroman, Kevin Gossman, Robbie Ray. Those guys are younger, also very good pitchers, but they're also a little less certain because they don't have total track record. And then there's a lot of guys, like Alex Cobb out there that have maybe had a couple good years or bad years, or they're a little older, or there's maybe some question marks about them. So they're a little bit of a gamble. But the Angels need to find at least 2 starting pitchers, and they need to have them end up being good. So it's one thing to get guys that you think are going to be good in January, and another thing to, after 6 months of the 2022 season, have it actually have worked.
What does your gut say about the chances of the Angels' chances of acquiring two of those names that you just mentioned?
They're probably not going to get two of them. I think there's a good chance they'll get one of them, one of those 8 guys whose names I mentioned. And then they're probably going to have to hope the second one is just a name that somebody who's maybe more of a gamble, somebody who's either been hurt or is a little older, or is a guy who was good and is coming off a bad year, and that guy does well. It's really hard to get 2 guys that are really kind of sure things for anybody. You know, if they get one guy who's more of a sure thing and one guy who's more of a gamble, there's no reason why they both can't end up being good. I mean, everybody look at the San Francisco Giants, the best record in baseball this year, and the starters they acquired were Alex Wood and Anthony DeSclafani. Those are certainly not people that anybody would figure would be Cy Young winners or anything like that. And they both turned out to pitch very well for them, and that's what happened. So, you know, it definitely happens.
Could you rank, in your opinion, the top 3 pitchers in this free agent market? 3 pitchers that Angels should go after.
Well, Max Scherzer is obviously number 1. Even though he is old, he's still very good. He's probably the safest bet. And then after that, it's really hard to say. I'm actually going to be working on a story about this, you know, in October sometime, so people can stick around and read that. But it's tough to say with the rest of them because they all have some question marks.
So it really comes down to starters.
They need good relievers too, but relievers are not really something that you can really be as sure about spending on in the off season. That's even more of a gamble, but you spend less on them and you still just kind of cross your fingers and hope. And the difference between having a bad bullpen and a good bullpen is like the difference between having 2 good relievers and 4 good relievers, you know? So it's not a huge swing to go one way or the other.
Our Twitter and YouTube followers are throwing some team names out there, you know, that might be good fit for Ohtani if he decides to leave the Angels. Can you think of any teams that might be good fit for Ohtani other than the Angels?
I mean, I have no idea. That's too far away to really know. We don't know what teams are going to look like 2 years from now, and we don't know what Ohtani's going to look like 2 years from now. I think it's impossible to say.
Hey guys, thanks for watching the video. If you liked it, don't forget to click the like button and subscribe to our channel so you don't miss any future videos. You can also watch our past videos from the description below. Hope to see you again next time.